Hey all, welcome to ShareTreck. It's the 14th of March 2022, and I'm really gratified to see that a couple of our videos in the last week have had a lot of views, and our subscriber base has now increased and it's inching closer to 290. So thank you for all of that. And today's video is going to focus on what's happening with the Russia and Ukraine conflict, because that I think is going to be the driver of the market for the near term. We also have another important event happening this week. On Wednesday, the FOMC will have a press conference. The Fed chief will have a press conference in which he will talk about the interest rate hike. And we are expecting a 0.25 basis point interest rate hike. If it becomes 0.5, then I'm afraid the market will react adversely. So we need to watch out for that on Wednesday. So those are the key things, and as usual, this video is going to consist first about news on the news roundup, and next we'll be talking about VXN and NASDAQ, do a technical analysis and look at the trends. And finally, we are going to look at all the genomic shares and what is the trends, and let's get started. So the very first news is around Ukraine and Russia. The conflict is still ongoing, and that happens to be the focus of the market at this point of time. Once this conflict is resolved, there will be a bit of a spike in the market. The markets will go up a little bit, and then immediately the focus will turn to inflation and the Fed interest rate hikes, the job market being tight, and the supply chain woes. So it will go down again. So there's a bit of volatility further ahead, but the first hurdle to cross is to get the Russia-Ukraine conflict to some kind of resolution, so that the oil prices can cool down and it can flow down into tempering down the inflation stimulus, and that in turn is going to reduce the volatility in the market. So that's my thought. In terms of Russia-Ukraine conflict, what I have gathered so far is that Russia has been asking China for drones and some other military equipment. And US and China have had a meeting, I think either early this morning or late last night. They must have met. And the meeting was to discuss Chinese support for Russia, perceived Chinese support for Russia. So one of the US officials left the door open before the meeting by saying that they are aware that China is sympathetic to Russia, but also they are aware that China did not anticipate Russia to have such a great misadventure, thereby leaving the door open for China to gracefully get back into the fold with the international community and help to tamp down on the Russian aggression in Ukraine and bring that conflict to some kind of a resolution. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that meeting. Also, I think fourth round of talk is going on between Ukraine and Russia. And in some quarters, what I have heard is that Putin had a bunch of demands. One of them was that Ukraine should not join NATO in future. So Ukraine is okay with that. The second was to recognize the autonomy of the Crimean region. And they were okay with that. And the third was to give autonomy, I think, to the other two regions, I think it's Donetsk and I don't know how to pronounce the names, the two territories that are currently dominated by Russian-speaking people in Ukraine. And that is a point of contention for Ukraine, but they are willing to have a talk and a discussion on how to come to a mutual agreement. Meanwhile, the bombarding is continuing, the humanitarian crisis is continuing, and it has got its impact still on oil prices. So this is the situation that we are in with regard to Ukraine conflict. So the potential catalysts are that China may soon make an announcement that it stands with the international community and would request Russia to do some peace gestures and move out and de-escalate or something to that end. If that kind of a communication comes, it will definitely help the markets. It will bring the price of oil down. It will reduce the volatility. and things will start settling down a bit. So that is one possible outcome. The other possible outcome is that Ukraine and Russia jointly declare, even before that, they have reached some kind of understanding and the hostilities are going to stop right now, and some transitory measures for withdrawal of the troops and reconstruction of the zones. So any news of that happening can also make the markets go up. So those are two possibilities that are there in front of us. Now, turning our attention back to the Fed chairman and the speech that is going to happen on Wednesday, somewhere around 1:30 in the afternoon. I think that the market has already priced in a 0.25 25 basis points interest rate hike. And if that's what Fed Powell is going to declare, then everything is going to be fine. But in my opinion, based on what the other governors, I think there are around 15 or 16 governors for Fed, and they take a consensus on how much interest to raise and when to raise. I think a majority of people are still in the 50 basis points camp. So if Chairman Powell announces 25 basis point hike, then the market is going to be okay because it's already priced in my opinion. However, if he announces a 50 basis point hike, then the market may take a bit of a tumble before stabilizing. So that's what might happen. So we have to watch out what happens on Wednesday around 1:30. So keep an eye out for that. So that brings me to the end of the taking stock of macroeconomic and environmental factors. So let's go on to look at the Nasdaq and VXN. It's now 10 a.m. and the market has been open for half an hour. So let's dive into it. Okay, here we are with US oil to start with. And this is a long-term chart where each of these candles are 1 day. So you can see that we had the biggest drop in oil prices on 9th of March. And today we are having the second biggest drop in oil prices from $108 or $109 all the way down to $100. So that's around $9 drop. That's almost 9% drop in oil prices. So it's bound to have a very positive impact on rest of the market. Let us see if there is any news about oil. Energy stock retreat pre-market Monday, etc., etc. There is no reason given out here. Oil falls in early trading on hopes for successful talks between Ukraine and Russia. So it's back to the Ukraine-Russia theme. So I think the market is overall optimistic about how things are happening between Russia and Ukraine, and also potentially the talks between China and US. I think it's all culminating towards de-escalation and resolution of the conflict, and that's a good thing. So as a result of that, you have seen that the VXN has dropped down, and right now it's at the support that is out here, this red line, which was earlier a resistance. It's now a support. So we have to fall down below this. And you can see, as I've explained earlier, what we have is a doji candle out here. So doji candle is a body with equal sized wicks on both sides. And the significance of a doji candle is that the market participants are not sure which way to go. So they have all clustered, bulls and bears have all clustered around a central point. They are intensely focused on that narrow price band. So it's on razor's edge. So they're waiting for some catalyst news or information, and sometimes rumors tend to masquerade as news and move the markets. So this is a time you have to be very careful because the volatility is high. Anything can tip that to either side. So right now, as you saw right in front of your eyes, we jumped up on the volatility index. So let's wait and watch. Please remember, this market is still volatile, and any greens that you see is not permanent, it's transitory. And having said that, let us go on to look at at our Nasdaq. So if you look at Nasdaq, we are still on our long-term bearish trajectory, but I am enthused by this particular sign I see here. I'm just going to draw a line. I don't want to jinx this, but I can't resist drawing a line out here and linking all the higher lows that we have had so far. And I think if we bounce off and take the support at this horizontal support of 12865.64, then if that support holds for us, then this trend line is also going to hold, and there is a potential opportunity for us maybe in another by around 28th of March to get out of this, somewhere between 25th and 28th of March. So we are talking about a 9-day time frame. So the potential catalyst within that period of time is the resolution of Russia-Ukraine issues, the declaration that 25 basis point is the interest rate hike that we have, and nothing is going to happen until May or June. So something to that effect that would be calming down the markets a bit and provide a gradual bull channel. So this line that you see here, green line, it's not very drastic. It's a gradual raise, and it will be followed by ups and downs. So it will spread over a period of time. That's my expectation, and I would like you all to put in the comments what you think is going to happen. Now let's move on to look at our biotech shares now. So as you can see here on the right side panel, all our biotech shares in our watch list are out here, and we can see that it's been sorted out on basis of the winners on the top and the losers at the bottom. And even though at the weekend I had a nice video on Beam, you can see that it's the biggest loser today. So such is the nature of the stock market. Let's get started with the winners first. Pfizer is up 3.88%. And as you can see, there's a sharp recovery in Pfizer. Our previous resistances are now quickly becoming supports. And right now we are handling this resistance at 52.48, which is this horizontal line, a horizontal red line. And now we have the support from all the exponential moving averages. So the reason I think that Pfizer is quickly moving towards a healthy status from a price perspective is because you have the 9-day EMA at the bottom, which is crossing over to go on top of the 20-day exponential moving average. So this yellow line out here is the 9-day exponential moving average, and the orange one is the 20-day exponential moving average. So the longer the duration of the moving average, the smoother it becomes. Whereas the earlier moving average like 9-day or 5-day or 4-day are much more sharper, and they reflect the current prices that much more. And therefore, in a very healthy market, you'll always have the shorter term exponential moving averages just below the price, and the longest term exponential moving average at the very bottom. So we are slowly moving in that direction with regard to Pfizer. So that is very encouraging, and that's what needs to happen for all our stocks here in order for the entire market to start looking healthier. So having said that, MACD is bullish, and the momentum is also pretty strong and healthy, and there's plenty of way before the RSI becomes oversold. So Pfizer is going to have a great day today unless there is any negative catalyst. Intelia is up 4.14%, and it's still firmly below this earlier bearish channel that we had, and it has just about dropped below our support, which was at 60.88, and this is the support that we have here, which is at 60.88. So it dropped below, and then it sharply raised up, and currently it is standing at 63.99. So I wouldn't rush to change this support line into a resistance, because we already seen a healthy jump despite the fact that we went momentarily below it. So I'm happy with the current status that where it is. However, what really worries me is the fact that the MACD is still bearish. It's of course tending towards the signal line, but the momentum is weak and below average. So momentum needs to pick up. It's moving in the right direction, but it is still weak. It needs to pick up in order to sustain whatever green that we see here right now. So Intelia is a bit suspect, but if overall market sentiment keeps on improving with the Ukraine-Russia crisis getting into more of a positive situation, we can see this change, and Intelia can retain all the gains that it has had until the end of the market. Next, we look at Regeneron at 2.58% gain, and we have crossed over our previous resistance, which was at 646.94. So I'm going to mark it as a support. And we are doing extremely well today for Regeneron, a gain of around $16.57. MACD is jumping with leaps and bounds, and it's moving further and further away from the signal line. This is excellent. The only matter of concern I have is that the momentum is pretty high, and the RSI is very soon going to get into overbought territory. And when that happens, there will be a bit of a plateauing and a bit of a fall in momentum and therefore a fall in price. So instead of ending the day with a gain of 16.57, maybe we end up with a gain of 14.5 or something like that. But overall, Regeneron is looking positive. Let us look at any news items that they have. So today is March 8th, so there is no news item of late that is a catalyst for Regeneron. Let's look at Illumina. It's up 1.76%, and we are still in the shadow of the last red candle that happened. But a promising sight is that this green candle is within the lower bounds of the red candle. So that shows that the bears have been pushed back a little bit, and the bulls have a sigh of relief out here, and they're trying to make some headway. But we are still in the shadows of the bears, and you can see that the 9-day exponential moving average is going to be the next hurdle for us, followed by 322.88, which is this horizontal red line. That's going to be the subsequent resistance. MACD is bearish and the momentum is just about picking up. It is below average, but given the overall market sentiments, we are seeing a bit of green out here. So I'm thinking that if the overall market sentiment continues to be positive, we can retain all these gains for Illumina, because Illumina is very, very beaten up. So the risk-reward ratio for Illumina is much better today than it was maybe a month ago. So the chances of Illumina retaining its 5.78 is pretty high if the overall market sentiment continues to stabilize or improve further. Next, we go on to Novartis, which is up 2.37%. It's a big dog, so we don't have to worry about Novartis. It will do well. I'm going to convert this resistance into a support. So we have a support at 83.65. We also have a support from our 9-day exponential moving average. And if you see the 9-day exponential moving average and recollect what I told you earlier, you'll see a very sharp spike in the exponential moving average from yesterday to today, because we have jumped significantly from a bottom of 82.36 all the way to around 83.82 at the open. So that big jump is reflected very sharply here. Whereas if you look at the other moving averages, you will see that you don't see such a sharp move out there. It's smoothened out. So that's one thing I wanted to highlight to you. And if you look at the MACD, it's moving towards the signal line, and momentum is just about becoming average. So the moment it goes above average, as soon as the momentum is above average, you will see that the MACD would have crossed over the signal line and become bullish. So I'm very hopeful that Novartis is going to exceed the resistance of 84.74 before 84.47 before the end of the day. Right now we are at 84.37. The trick would be for Novartis to stay above 84.47 and convert that into support by the end of the day. Then we can use that as a basis to move forward. Next, we move on to Vertex, which is up 1.89%, and our support of 240.94, which is this green line out here, is holding perfectly well. And we are being supported by the 9-day and the 20-day exponential moving averages. And again, Vertex is returning to a kind of a healthy pricing situation because you have the 9-day followed by the 20-day, followed by the 50-day, followed by the 100-day EMA. So this is a good sign. And I'm also seeing a potential cup and handle pattern developing. This is started from February 9th. So this is a reasonable time to have a cup and handle pattern that can deliver some results. The jump may not be major, but we'll probably be able to break through 248.18 if that happens. So let's wait and see if this cup and handle develops and how it proceeds. MACD is bullish. I'm very happy about it. Momentum is above average. Happy about it. Vertex is going to have a green day. It may gather a few more dollars of gains before the end of the day. CRISPR is up. CRISPR is down minus 12%. And we are being supported by the 9-day and the 20-day exponential moving average. I'm very, very happy to see the 20-day exponential moving average going below the 9-day exponential moving average. But today's price action is not looking that great because we are below yesterday's red candle, even though we are picking up. So the effect that's going to have is to push the 20-day EMA above the 9-day EMA and take us a step back. I don't want that to happen. So I'm rooting for CRISPR to end the day positive and end the day at least above the closing of yesterday's bearish candle. MACD is bullish right now, and that's a good sign. Momentum is above average. That's also a good sign. But the bad thing is the momentum is flat. and the MACD is trying to go towards the signal line in a bearish manner. That's not a good thing. So let's wait and see what happens with CRISPR. I am still bullish on CRISPR because they still have the sickle cell therapy, which is in clinical trials. And Vertex also is going to benefit from that. So I'm expecting CRISPR to mirror what is happening with Vertex, at least to a certain extent for the day. So I'm hopeful that it's going to turn positive. Let's look at Editas. It is up 0.4%. And our earlier support of 15.37 is now a resistance. So I'm going to mark that into a red color so that it can stay as a resistance. And we are being constrained by the 9-day and the 20-day exponential moving average. And even before that, 15.37 is the horizontal resistance that we are going to face. MACD is bullish, but it's moving towards the signal line to turn bearish. Momentum is flat and below average. So it's not looking good for Editas today. So I would be surprised if Editas ends up flat. I think it will end up probably -5 or 6 cents. IMTX is down -4.03. MACD is bearish. And momentum is absolutely at the rock bottom, and we are being constrained by the 9-day EMA. So it's not looking good for IMTX. It's going to end up in the red. Bluebird is down -5.57%, and that's around 2 cents. We see a small green wick here because we opened low and went up. That's why the candle is green. Otherwise, we are in the red. MACD is turning towards the signal line, but it is still bearish. And I don't know if it will succeed to get anywhere near the signal line because momentum is very weak and almost non-existent. So it's not looking good for Bluebird. But one thing which is working in favor for Bluebird is that it's so badly beaten up that there is likely to be a dead cat bounce effect out there. And with the positive sentiments in the market, I am expecting that potentially Bluebird might get a little bit of a hand and maybe it ends up positive 0.05. Allogene is down -0.49% and 9-day EMA is a constraint for Allogene. MACD is bullish, but it's diminishing. Momentum is also diminishing and flat and absolutely below average. So not looking good for Allogene. Again, Allogene is a very, very beaten up stock. If we go to look at a 1-year time frame or even further, you would see that Allogene is significantly beaten up even before its IPO days. So it's in such a bad state that it has to get a dead cat bounce today if the overall environment is good. So all those shares which are really badly beaten up, they may get a sympathetic rally if overall environment looks good with the Ukraine-Russia crisis getting sorted out or any positive catalyst coming up. These are the stocks which are likely to bounce the most. Because they are so badly beaten up, the risk-reward status is so skewed towards rewards that investors won't hesitate to jump into it. So that's what I think is going to happen with Allogene and stocks like that. ARKG is down 1.03%. Our earlier support of 42.62 is now a resistance, and we are falling further down. And we have this bear channel, which is bounded by this green support line below and the red resistance line above. That is going to be our guide right now. And our next support for today is going to be at 38.57. And our horizontal support at 36.91 will happen once we fall below that. The MACD is bearish. Momentum is also very low. Not looking good for ARKG. But again, ARKG could be a beneficiary if overall sentiments turn positive. This will be the first one to jump up in a very smart manner. VERV is down -1.54%. MACD is bearish. Momentum is also low. So again, highly beaten up stock, potential dead cat bounce possibility if overall sentiments in the market continues to be positive. Teladoc is down -2.64%. So again, MACD is bearish, momentum is below average and falling further. It's not looking good for Teladoc, but because it is a highly beaten up stock, there is a chance for a dead cat bounce, though it may not be as pronounced as something you might see in Bluebird or Allogene. Caribou Biosciences is down 2.39%. And if I look at the overall situation, the MACD is bullish and the momentum is below average and falling. So it's not looking good for Caribou Biosciences. But if you look at the overall, it's highly beaten up. So a dead cat bounce effect is imminent if overall market trends are positive. PACB is down 4.80. Same story for PACB. MACD is bearish. Momentum is falling, but a dead cat effect is well in the cards. Beam is down minus 2.94%, and we have a bearish MACD and below average momentum out here. It's not looking good for Beam. However, if we zoom out to a 1 year time frame and look at the chart out here, you can see that we seem to be consolidating in some manner, because our fall is not as sharp as it has been in the previous down cycles within this channel. So that gives me a little bit of optimism. And even if I take a trend line out here and try to trace it, I'm just ignoring today's chart at this today's candle at this point of time. But up to that point, it looked like it was not as bearish as it had been in the past in terms of it coming down. So I'm a bit disappointed that we have fallen below that. But again, a dead cat bounce potential is still there for Beam. And I still feel that Beam is somewhat undervalued at this point of time, given the potential for Beam. Especially excited about the reduction of off-base edits. And I don't know why it's languishing so bad. So overall, if the market sentiments continue to turn positive with the Crimea and Russia-Ukraine issues getting resolved, oil prices coming down and all that, then that's when we'll see a good dead cat bounce from here, because there's tremendous value in Beam, in CRISPR therapeutics. I don't know why they're languishing. It's just the market sentiment. So I would hang in there and wait for things to improve. So that brings me to an end of this presentation today. Please tell me what you think about this. And again, as soon as we reach around 500 subscribers, we'll start getting a community tab. And in the community tab, what I'm expecting is that all our participants here, we need to pool our market intelligence, because the big investors, the institutional investors, they have economists on board, and they pay for high quality research, and they get up-to-date information, and even they get a much more superior market price ticker, which gives them exact on-the-spot pricing, as compared to us. We get a much delayed price ticker. So everything is tagged against us retail investors. So what I would request is that let us wait for us to cross the 500 subscriber mark and get the community tab. And once we have the community tab, we should use that for exchanging market intelligence that each one of us has got. We just put it in there so everyone can see, and we can take our own decisions based on that and be a little bit more informed, because I alone have a tunnel vision on what I see around me and the same websites that I go to. But each one of you have your own zones. But when we get information from all the zones and put it into the community tab, that's where we are going to get the maximum gain from this channel, in my opinion. So let's look forward to that. So if you're new to this channel, for everything CRISPR, please subscribe, help us grow this channel and get to the objective of getting the community tab so that we can start making this even more effective. Thanks and have a great day. Bye for now.